Hello, everyone. So thank you for coming here today or joining us. So here the topic of this webinar is to how to brave the challenges of developing a new chapter, and I should say a new and thriving chapter. And so it's not always easy, but the good thing is there are people who can help. So so today this is going to be the focus of this webinar, and so there will be a few presenters that will go through different the different aspects that will be useful to develop this new EMBS chapter. So first, I thought that so either Dr. Caroline is here. She's not here yet. She hasn't joined. I don't see her. Yeah. So I thought it would be important, because here we're all trying to develop these chapters. It's important to know what the mission, to remember what the mission of IEEE EMBS is, and the mission of its local representation, which are the EMBS chapters. So EMBS is really, it's the world's largest international society of biomedical engineers, over 12,000 members, 97 countries. And I think my numbers are a few months old, but I think they still stand. And here really there are 4 areas of technical interest that are covered by this society. The first one is diagnostic systems. We then have therapeutic systems, but also anything related to healthcare and bioinformation systems. And finally, technologies and methodologies. So these are really the 4 areas of technical interest, which really represent quite a broad spectrum. So within these 4 areas, the mission of EMBS is really to provide its members with access to people, practices, information, ideas, opinions that are shaping one of the fastest growing fields in science. And I think it's within this background that EMBS evolves, and so should their local representations, so the EMBS chapters. And this mission is really important because it benefits both. It aims to benefit both humanity and all EMBS members by advancing medicine and biology through application of engineering, sciences, and technology. It also promotes the profession of biomedical engineering, fostering professional development and recognizing excellence. Presenting conferences that bring together scientists, engineers, physicians from multiple disciplines, and in order to disseminate knowledge and solve complex problems. It also aims to establish technical standards and providing global leadership for the profession. So in general, I think there are 122 chapters worldwide and counting, 47 student branch chapters and 18 student clubs. So and as you can see here, it's really disseminated throughout the planet. So it is within this, you know, as Dr. Lee said earlier, the 4 corners of the world. So these chapters, what is their mission? They really are the representative of EMBS locally. And so they're supposed to bring the mission of EMBS that I described earlier to the local communities. And to do this, they aim to provide local activities such as workshops, different tutorials, some speaker talks, and really this is for members who may or may not have the capability to attend worldwide EMBS meetings. So it's really, I mean, they really have this ability to strengthen the local activities. And the good thing is that, I guess, with Zoom, it's now possible to also invite people from other areas and make sure that your local members are aware of things happening throughout the world. So I think it's with this in mind, and of course, yes, this is in the interest of all of its members, from industry, academia, but also the student population. So this being said, I would suggest, I know there was a lot of things being said, a lot of text, but this mission, I believe, is really the backdrop on which all of the activities of a thriving chapters need to be inscribed. So if you have any question, let's keep it for later for the discussion. And in the meantime, Kanita, is Dr. Caroline here or Dr. Asim? Let's see them. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it looks like they are not here. So what we can do, though, what I would suggest is before Dr. Asim comes to talk about how to leverage resources to create a diverse chapter member list, Dr. Taxvi, will provide a brief chronological guide on how to take over and lead a thriving chapter. So, Taxvi.
Dr. Safa, can you share the screen?
I'm glad that I've been asked to really talk about a few things that from my experience that I can relate to. And thanks to Jean-Marie and Kanita and Dr. Lee to do that. What I'm interested in to make sure that the chapter is viable, the outgoing chapter, a new chapter. So what are the items that we need to look into? We need to look into from a system standpoint. And when you want to look at the system, you want to see, first thing you need to do is the requirement. What is the requirement that you have? What that you're responsible for? I really try to look into 4 items. One is what? What are the things, what are the mission? And Jean-Marie gave some of the mission items there already. So what are those? What? That is number 1. Number 2 is who. Who are people who are responsible for? Who will be doing it? They are the chapter chairs assisted by the society. And then of course, society is there and society officers are there, and also the resources. So the question number 2 is who. The third is when it is to be done. Now it has to be done in a certain sequence. It's just like you want to do the robotic operation. It has a multiple degrees of freedom. You want to do the first one, second one. It's just like I want to move my hand. Which one I want to move first to reach that? So that is a sequence in chronological order. And the final thing, which is most important for all of us, is the how we are going to do it. What is the training that we need to have? What resources we need to do? So those are the 4 items from the system standpoint. And though, you know, when you look at a particular, as a doctor, when you look at someone comes for a problem, besides that problem, you want to look at what other items are there which may be affecting you or affecting the patient. So from system standpoint, what I want to talk today, just in few slides, is from the system standpoint, you need to look at all the things for those 4 items. What is to be done, who is going to do, and his or her responsibility. Third is when it is to be done. And 4th, how is to be done. The how part will be done later on. I think Kanita has some other nice presentations to do that. So this is what I want to try. I want to skip this one. This is just me. A couple of things I've done in my life, so I just want to move on. Okay, so agenda is also there, but I'm going only up to item 1 and 2. I had some other things, some other time we'll do. So let us look into who is going to do, and this is, you can always, and I'm going to skip these items to come to the main presentation from the system standpoint for the topic that we have received. So this is, you have a chapter chairs, you have vice chair, you have a secretary, you have treasurer. Again, the who people have to come up with their own, based on their culture, who is going to do what. You can have a publicity and so on. So this is up to you as it. So let me just go ahead and a simple cartoon that I have prepared. Now, this whole thing is a system process. So let me define the system process. System process is there's an input, there's an output, and then there's a processing which is done to provide the output. So again, for any chapter, for any section, for any group, there are 3 things. One is input, other is output, and then the chapter or section that itself looks at the processing of the input based on what they have learned, based on how to, based on the other resources to produce the output. Okay, this is a cartoon. It's a very simple cartoon, and I'll take just a few seconds about this one here. The first one is section region society. Jean-Marie just gave the mission, which is society mission, but we always look into what section has, region has, and so we need to look at the goal, which is the mission that he just presented. We need to also look into the membership needs. That differs from different places. In Africa, it will be different. In India, it will be different. In Malaysia, it will be different. Depends on really what is needed there. The other part is the budget. Budget is something that you need to look into, and I don't want to take that much time. Some other time we can do those part here. But the budget is chapter receives the funds if they have previously, they have completed the basic requirement. So the IEEE provides the chapter. And also you have the section, and you have the society also arrangement to provide. So depending on what you want to do. So the resources available are what we call the membership list. Membership list is, I'm not going to cover today, but that is part of the OU organization unit. And Kanita probably might show that one, how we can get the membership list. And every officer, chapter chair, is authorized to get the list of their own members. Industry support, we need to see what industry in your area, and subsidy, of course, comes from. And then prior history, I believe that I'm history chair of Region 5, and I believe that, in the history says, don't look at the history, look at the lessons of the history. And so what are the lessons of the history for the chapter? What chapter has been doing, what they have done. This gives you an input, a visibility of your chapters, what they have done. So that is a kind of thing. Now comes to, this is the input you have to look into. They have to be looked into in a timely manner. And I will show in just a quick, what are the services provided? That was, of course, Jean-Marie indicated, and Dr. Lee maybe later on will talk. What type of programs are needed? There are two things. One is the top-down, other is the bottom-up. The top-down means the society feels that this type of thing should be done, and the membership feels, so you need to have that. Industry involvement. In order to get the industry involved, you need to see how you can motivate them to be part of you. So that is required, that you need. Administration input to the section. Section will have some inputs on that. L31, which is annual reporting, and Kanita will probably look into that one, on that one. If you have a V tool, it is so easy. After you have finished, you can do the reporting. Yes, it doesn't take much time. Award documentation, not many groups do that, but I think it is important that we should have our members do that. Some of them we can do at a lower level, certificates, ad hoc people, some people who have been working, and then we need to do the training. This is basically the chapter is supposed to do the processing of those things. Once they do the processing, they will have that output. Now there are two charts that I want to really if you have established chapter, these are the steps that one has to do. Again, this is based on some of the things I've been doing for last almost 50 years now on that one. vTools activities, that is the previous year's history. You can go back, see last several years, what the chapter has done, where the chapter was successful. That is an input that you need. Previous years and the previous. Then I recommend that outgoing chapter officers provide what I call out briefing, the last thing that the outgoing chapter officers provide to know. And that is the honoring them, the new chapter people, honor them, and great job you did, but tell us really how it worked, which one worked, which one didn't work. So that is out briefing, and the data is collected by, but this is established chapter, they collected, and that is here, it goes to what we call the need. You saw the previous one, what is expected, and yeah, here, it goes here, what we have as an input. And so we need to go through the officers' training on how to do that, and some of those things we will talk about. Now, let us look into this part here. And no. Okay, this part here. This is for, we have come up to need. So now you have a new chapter. New chapter doesn't have much history to go back before what they had, but now they have, they get the society input. So officers training, one of the key things, what officers have to do, and I skimmed through what chair, vice chair, and all that. It is already available on the society website. So the officers training is something else. Before getting into a job, you enthusiastically, you need to be part of it. You need to have time, and then you need to go through training so that you can see what you can do. IEEE, society's input you got. Membership input. Some of us do this survey, but I can tell you, if you are very active members, 5 to 7% people only respond. So you got that. Then you look at all the resources. And today, hopefully, we'll have some talk about resources. And then we need to look into society personnel. I like to have the list of the society people like Dr. Lee and Anita and everybody else, that as a chapter chair, I can go and contact them in case I need. So we need to have that. We need to give this one here. So look at the resources. We have gone through the finances. When you put together a program, what are the things you look into? You need to see whether it is the online program, whether it is a mixed program, whether a face-to-face. Face-to-face takes a lot of efforts, more. You have to pay for venue, you have to pay for lunch, we have to pay for dinner. In some cases, you have to share the expenses for the speaker. So that determines the finances. That helps you to put together the program plans. And then once it is done, of course, you assign the schedule. A schedule for things when it is to be done. You remember the 4 things I said: what, who, when, and how. So we are looking at the schedule for the year that you can put together. Then, of course, you follow and execute. Here also, you do quite a few things that I think Kanita will provide, or I can later on in the discussion. What type of publicity works, what type of publicity doesn't work, what is passive, what is active, how soon you can do. Again, it depends on the activity in the particular region and your section. And so once it is done, and if you have the, in the V tool, it's simple, 5 minutes it takes for each of those meetings as you go along, report. That's it. After you have done that, this is the most important part. I feel awards. We normally, if I want an award, I will initiate and I will find somebody to do that. That is the tendency. I think awards chairman should look at the overall picture and for the chapter, what are the great things the chapter has done. Look for awards for the chapter. Look for the people who have done for individual awards and submit it. And the last thing, of course, is once this is done, it is at the end of the year, report the lessons learned and what we call it, the out briefing to the new people, or maybe the same people if they are going to continue. Say, guys, we tried this thing, it didn't work. Let us look at alternate things, and that might do it. Again, this is a block diagram. I don't know if I took more time or I'm done with my 10 minutes. Jean-Marie?
Yeah, thank you very much, Safari. It was very clear, and I really liked how
yeah, this is what I want to just show, not anything else. You have the general information, and I'm sure that we will talk about this one later on, leadership resources and all that. So, all right, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my ideas. If there are any questions later on that that you pose to the panel, I will be happy to answer from my standpoint. Thank you very much, Jean-Marie and Kanita and Hugh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was absolutely clear. I personally really loved your engineering way of describing a chapter and the comparison with systems engineering. That was, I think, very insightful and adapted to the audience. So thank you. Dr. Asim, do you have, I'm going to use my, the slides you sent me.
Sure. Yeah. And first off, like, just to clarify, I don't have a PhD, so not a doctor.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
That's all right.
I have them on my screen as well, Jean-Marie, but I think if you want to just take it over, that might be better.
Yeah. You should see it now.
Still waiting to load on my side.
Asim, you have a PhD in industry.
Okay, all right, there you go. So Jean-Marie, I'm not seeing anything on the screen. I don't know if others are. I just see a blank white screen.
We can.
You can?
Yes.
For some reason, I cannot.
You can see your first slide.
Okay, I'm just seeing like a white screen. That's all I'm seeing actually. So okay, I can maybe I have it up on my screen too, Jean-Marie, so I can just kind of go through that, and I'll just actually just keep showing Jean-Marie. I think it's fine, but I'll just like let you have it change it when I because I'll have two screens on my side, so you can feel free to show it. Yep.
Okay, it's back on.
Okay, so hopefully everybody's able to see the first screen. So I only have 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So basically my topic that I wanted to discuss with the rest of the group here was just to how create some diversity in the chapters. So I am actually the chair of the EMBS Boston section in the Region 1. So recently formed chapter, not even like a year old, so fairly new. So I'd actually worked to also form the Phoenix chapter and IEEE Phoenix chapter, EMBX Phoenix chapter in the past too. So worked with them for about 3 years too. So since I've moved to Boston, and I actually founded the chapter here as well. So diversity and inclusivity is actually one of the key pieces for any organization, not just a chapter itself. So that's where I think I have some like ideas. We had some experiences that we went through. So just want to share with the group here. So next slide, please.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I think what is diversity and inclusion? So I don't want to go through this whole text. I'll just have the audience read through that. But basically, just to sum it up, diversity is like people from different like race, genders, careers, skills, everybody at the same time as a part of the group, as a part of an organization, as a part of a chapter, as part of anything that we do as a collective society. That's what diversity is. So I think that's very important, and I'll let you guys know why. But then so you can have diversity in the chapter, like with having people from different genders, from different races, but diversity by itself doesn't mean much if you don't have the whole concept of inclusivity. So having like people from different walks of life within an organization or a group is definitely a good thing, but unless and until there's a sense of inclusivity whereby you are actually creating the right environment, the right opportunities, the right resources for all different diverse groups, that's where it actually becomes very, very critical and important. So just read off the slide there. So diversity is as an advantage to why you should have, or why somebody as a part of the group should have a diversity in a certain organization or a group, is because diversity is proven to actually make the communities and workplaces more productive, tolerant, and welcoming. And that's got to do with the fact because people from different walks of life have different ideas, different experiences, different backgrounds. So I think that really helps to kind of like really make any organization really strong, which is what we've actually seen like as part of these new initiatives that we've done with the EMBS setup in Boston area and the EMBS in Phoenix area. And we have a very clear example of that actually from a diverse group standpoint. But as I said, like diversity by itself doesn't mean much unless you have these inclusive actions that you will be taking. So basically making any of these diverse groups being more welcome to your group, to actually provide the same amount of resources, the same amount of opportunities. So that actually also makes the environment a lot more respectful for all the employees and all the different like people that you work closely with. So that's where inclusivity also becomes very, very important. Now, anecdotally, and I've worked in academia for a while, I've worked in the industry for quite a while, as Dr. Lee pointed out. So I know that the biomedical industry tends to be very diverse. And then inclusive also is what I have found out based on the experiences that I have had personally and speaking to some of the other people, not just in like from IEEE EMBS standpoint, but just as an overall, like just academia and industry as well. So I feel like it actually becomes even more important that as a part of the EMBS chapters that we work within, that we bring into the same like mold of this like diversity and inclusivity into our respective chapters. Now, how do you actually bring that about? Like, how do you create that environment? For some people, it's very natural because you've been exposed to certain resources, certain groups, certain kind of like a structure to things in your like work environment, in academia or industry, or in like colleges, wherever you go to. But like if you don't have that experience and exposure, and especially if you're working towards like building like a new chapter or working at a chapter that you have been working for quite some time, like how do you bring that whole concept of diversity and inclusion? So I'll just share some of the notes that I have had based on our experiences, as I said, like in the EMBS Boston that we're currently setting up for about like 8 months, and then also going back to my the EMBS Phoenix chapter days. So next slide, please.
Yeah,
okay. Yep. So this is, I would say in a nutshell, is how can you leverage resources to create a diverse EMBS chapter? So this is the learnings we've had from EMBS Boston at this time, but some of this also is going back to the EMBS Phoenix section, Phoenix chapter also, which I was like a co-founder of, but this is very, very pertaining to the EMBS Boston section. So I've just segmented this into like 3 different buckets here for industry, academia, and students. So for industry, like how do you bring that diversity and inclusivity? So I think what we have done here is that we have actually leveraging a lot of these associate groups that most of the companies in the industry will tend to have. They will have like a women's resource group. They will have like a Asian American resource group. They will have like a Mexican. They will have like a LGBT group. Like there's all sorts of resource groups. So we've actually like went out into industry when we were actually looking at like volunteers or people to help us out with forming the chapter, to actually go to these specific resource groups to kind of like just leverage that. And then otherwise like just outreach too. So at least in the US, there's definitely like these smaller scale companies and these local companies like as like a run by more marginalized groups. So you can actually do outreach to these companies to kind of like have them bring in their whole like a more of a diverse and inclusive kind of like environment into the picture as part of the EMBS chapter. So we actually had volunteers and people from those like small companies run by marginalized groups be a part of our like group and chapter. And then we've also done a lot of these co-hosting events with some of the local chapters, and that's been, I think, one of the key pieces that we have actually found a lot of success in as the EMBS Boston chapter. And this is not just for industry, it's like even from students and academia standpoint. So a lot of our events that we do, like webinars, like social events, we will actually go to local chapters and try to co-host these events. I think a lot of the EMBS maybe already does that, or maybe don't, I don't know, but at least in the Boston area, this is the strategy we have taken to do a lot of these co-hosting events. So this is just from an industry standpoint. Now from an academia standpoint, so there's like quite a few like professors, some like students as part of our like EMBS chapter. So how we actually try to create a more of a diverse environment within the EMBS from academia standpoint. We actually try to like outreach to a diverse group of academics, basically professors from different like genders. Like even for our events, we will actually intentionally try to like bring in like a male and a female counterpart. Then we'll actually look at like some professors from more of an American heritage, more of an American African heritage, like Indians or Asian Americans, like Europeans. So we try to like kind of mix it up in our events just to create that diverse like environment within our chapter. And then a last thing from academia standpoint, I think we've actually gone out in like, so there's at least I feel fortunate to live in the Boston area where there's a lot of colleges at the stone's throw. It's like a lot of community colleges as well, besides universities. So we have a lot of this like good framework of academic environment anyway in this Massachusetts Boston area. So we actually went out and worked with community colleges in the area, since these colleges, which are not really like big huge universities, they tend to have like a very diverse student group, especially like these small community colleges, like at more of a smaller towns, they would tend to have maybe people from a little bit like less economic kind of like a background, and then maybe people from the little different like heritage, like mostly like a Latin American or like African American groups. So I think we've tried to leverage that quite a bit. And then lastly, from a student's standpoint, how are we actually bringing on diversity in the students' standpoint? So so what we have seen, at least for our EMBS in Boston area, it's very easy to reach out to the students, but again, it's very difficult as well to just kind of like recruit these students, because they're working on so many different things, they have their projects. I mean, they have like the colleges that they're going to, their universities that they're going to, they're already involved in a lot of other different things, a lot of other different groups. So one thing we have tried to do, which actually currently we have not done that as yet, but we are just starting that this coming month. In the month of June, we'll start actually going to these in-person events at some of these students kind of groups, student chapters in universities, and set up these short like tables. And with our like EMBS like swag, like we actually got some like visiting cards, some mugs made, some t-shirts. So we'll actually present like who we are as an EMBS, what we do, to just get a little bit more diversity from a student standpoint. So that's, I would say, like what we are trying to do to bring together this like more of a diverse, inclusive environment in our EMBS and in the Boston area. Thank you.
Thank you, Asim. Yeah, so this was very insightful on all these different means that that can be used to have to obtain a diverse chapter. Thank you. Right, so now we can move on to Dr. Kanita. Do you want to share your screen and talk about how new chapters can reach out for resources support?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. So as Dr. Safa already mentions about vTools, everything that we need to manage EMBS chapter, well, it's actually quite easy though. You can just go to vtools.ieee.org and you will meet this website. And here is everything that all of EMBS volunteer needs. And actually, if we are going to talk about vTools, I don't know, I can make all day to explain all of these items, but since we have a very limited time, so I will go through some important items that very important for chapters executive committee to use. The first one that actually Dr. Safa already mentioned is the vTools events. vTools events here is the page that you have to file your reports. And actually, every EMBS chapter need to file a report or need to create an event, at least 2 events per year for 2 consecutive years to maintain your active chapters for EMBS. Otherwise, the chapter will be expired and you need to run a petition to form a new chapter again. So this is one point that you need, all of the chapter chairs need to keep in mind, that you need to report 2 events per year for at least 2 consecutive years to maintain your active chapters. And this does not only apply for EMBS, but all of the technical chapters. So once you click to the vTools event, you will see this, this page. You can actually search for events near you run by any other societies. And you can actually check your events. If you already create some events in the past, you can go through the history or the log file of your events. And you can also manage events, the event that is going to happen or is still running, something like that. And this one is the event creating. So if you click create event here, the tools will lead you to the form to create an event. And you can just fill out all the form here and select the category, if it's technical, if it's professional, if it's non-technical, or if it's just a monthly meeting, you can just check on the administrative. And the most important one is the final part here, is the report and attendance. So you have to file the number of IEEE members who attend the meeting or to attend the events, or the number of guests who attended the event, in order to complete the events of the event that you have already created in V2. So this one is for the file the report. It's actually when I start to use V2s here, when I start to learn V2s here, this one is already called V2s. But for the older volunteer who volunteered before me, this one is previously called L31 or something. Yes. Now we'll go back to another items. Okay, so another one that I think is very important is that OU Analytics that Dr. Safa already mentioned too. But for OU Analytics here, you can access only if you have a position in your chapter, like a chapter chair, a vice chair, or secretary or treasurer. Only these position you can access OU Analytics. Here I can show you only this one. This one is the OU Analytics. I can access to OU Analytics because I am a membership development committee of IEEE Thailand section, but not EMBS chapter. So I can go through the OU Analytics. But what chapter share, or I think only chapter share can use the OU Analytics. Only chapter share can see is the number of member of EMBS chapter that you are sharing. So just for an example, here is the EMBS Thailand chapter. We have only 22 member in Thailand section. Thailand section is a small section in Thailand. And here you can, the OU Analytics can help you break down into the subcategory of the member of each member type, such as graduate student member, senior member, and also professional member. So you will see how many types of member consists of in your chapter. So this is the roughly about OU Analytics. And if you are a chapter chair, and if you are helping with the membership development in your region or in your chapter, you have access to this OU Analytics. And the training, the full training for the IEEE OU Analytics will provided by IEEE MGA. Every couple months that you can check on the IEEE MGA website for the training update. They'll have it very often. Okay, and another one that lots of people still asking is the web hosting for the chapter, and also the teleconferencing system that you can use by being IEEE chapter volunteer. For this one, you can actually request for IEEE web hosting for your own chapter. If you click on the link, they'll have a request form that you can fill out, and then they'll have IEEE officer that responsible for this one will help you creating the web hosting for your chapter. It's pretty easy, pretty quick, and you can actually develop your own website using IEEE templates, and it's very fast. You can also use this one. This one is free for your EMBS chapter. And another item is Webex request form. If you want to host a meeting, if you want to host a monthly meeting, or if you want to host an events, we have several options for IEEE chapter, IEEE member to use this one. You can ask to use Webex meeting registration, but they have a comment here that the information will be sent to you within 3 business days. So make sure that I would say you need to book the Webex meeting at least a week before your events. However, by being IEEE member, you can actually access to IEEE G Suite or Google service, all of the Google service. Here I can share another website. By being IEEE member, you can access for every Google service by signing into Google platform using IEEE email account, and then you can access to everything: Google Drive, document sheets, and Google Meet, and everything that you wish to use, including Google Form, by using IEEE email, and it is all free by being just IEEE member. Sorry. And for another resource that is very handy and important is the resource from IEEE brand experiences. So you can just go to you can just search Google for IEEE brand experiences, or you just go to brand-experiences.ieee.org here, and they'll have a very useful templates for you. This one, templates. They'll have all of the PowerPoint options, roll up options. They'll have foldable, they have a poster, they have like email templates, they have website templates that you can use. They also have a virtual background from IEEE that you can use. These are like, all of these are licensed by IEEE, and you can use it for every IEEE events, including EMBS event if you want to host one. This one is very handy. And as Dr. Safa already mentioned also, that by using all of this or knowing which resource is important, there is 2 programs that I would like to recommend all of the EMBS chapter chair or vice chair or officer to enroll. The first one is the IEEE Brand Ambassador certification. This one will get you through the IEEE brand experience, like how do you use IEEE logos correctly, how to use all of the templates correctly, and what is the official colors of fonts of IEEE, something like that. If you want to create a digital media file, you need to know these little important things here. So it's pretty awesome to be IEEE brand ambassador though. So this one, I recommend you to apply for it. And another one is the IEEE Volunteer Leadership Training Program, or we call it IEEE VOLTS. Actually, right now there are accepts for the participation for class of 2022. For the IEEE Volunteer Leadership Training Program, they will teach you everything, OU analytics, all of the V tools, how to work with volunteer from different region, how to host IEEE related events, how to host technical events or non-technical events, and everything you need to know about IEEE. They will help training you to know that here for the VOLT program. So these 2 programs from IEEE is free, and I really encourage all of the chapter chairs or chapter officers to join this program. And if you need to know more about OU analytics, and if you need help from EMBS Chapter Development Committee to help you going through the V tools or even OU analytics, if you wanted to help training with your member in your chapter, you can email me at this d.kaneda.th@ieee.org. Or you can also email social media team at social-media@embs.org if you have something you want to publicize on social media, or to EMBS website or LinkedIn, or like every social media platform. You can just email us here, and we will help publicize those events for you. Or you can also use the submission form here by scanning to this QR code or using this link bit.ly/EMBS social media form, and it will guide you through the electronic form that you can input all of the information, and we will seek out this schedule to publish your content into our official EMBS Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagrams, and Twitter. And that's all for me.
Thank you very much, Kanita. So I wanted to invite Dr. Lee to say a few words on Chapter Development Committee.
Thank you, Jean-Marie. Hi, I'm Yu Kwan, assisting Caroline, the EMB Vice President for Member and Student Activities, to host events to support our mission statements, which are 1, to inspire, support, expand, and vibrant EMB chapters. 2, to share best practices, governance, and connections amongst EMB chapter. 3, to inscribe EMB footprints in every IEEE section. And today's webinar is one of such events. They said, behind every successful man is a woman. Well, behind this woman is a marvelous team, whom I must pay tribute here to thank them for making every event a happening. Thank you, my Marvel team. Coming back to the topics, let's look at the standing of EMB chapter relative to its parents, the IEEE organization. As of May this year, the IEEE sections and subsections total at 400, while the EMB chapters total at 100. From the chapter development perspective, we see opportunities to bring up more EMB chapters to foster greater awareness, inclusion, and diversity of biomedical engineering. For this, we have identified sections with great potential to set up new EMB chapters, for they already have more than 12 active members. We have also identified sections with less than 12 active members, for we believe there is a possibility to set up a new EMB chapters, which would bring up the number of active members and inevitably contribute to the section and also IEEE for an increase in membership. So if you have friends and network in these sections, you could mentor them to start a new EMB chapter. Make sure you document what you do. This is so that you can apply for the 2 initiatives proposed by the Chapter Development Committee that has just been approved by the EMB ADCOM. Thanks to our Vice President Caroline for her pouting fist. First is the Member Get New Chapter initiative that extend EMB appreciation to any active IEEE members, not just chapter chairs and EXCOM, but any active IEEE members who has helped to set up a new EMB chapter in 2022, not including student chapter, my apology. You will get your 2023 IEEE EMB e-membership reimbursed up to a maximum of $250 USD. These are the terms and conditions for your reading. but the most important are: 1. A report on events that lead to the setup of the new chapter in chronological order, specifically your involvement endorsed by the chair of new chapter. 2. Official letter of approval from IEEE on the formation of the new chapter. 3. Nomination PDF for the 2023 EMB Outstanding Chapter Award by the new chapter, mentored by you. A minimum of 2 EXCO meetings and 6 completed events are required. It is compulsory to post event flyer and photo on your social media with the hashtag EMBS family, and provide links to V2 for each of the events as evidence. Lastly, an official receipt for your 2023 IEEE EMBS e-membership. Upload all the documents via a link on Chapter Development website before 30th November. Your application shall be reviewed by the Chapter Development Committee before submission to the Executive Office for reimbursement. Here is a template on mentor report. And here is a template for the nomination PDF for your reference. Next is New Chapter Financial Assistance Initiative to help the new chapter to sustain their activities and vibrancy by providing a grant of $250 after showing good performance in their first year. These are the terms and conditions, which are pretty much similar to the previous initiative, except for bullet number 2, where it is compulsory not only to post event flyer and photo on social media, but also acknowledge the grant from the EMB New Chapter Financial Assistance Initiative. Unfortunately, there is a ceiling of $5,000 for each of the initiatives. So please do hurry. All the information presented will be made available on the Chapter Development website here, which will be updated by the EMB IT technical team in the near future. With this, I would like to end by extending my appreciation to our Vice President Caroline for her encouraging words, Safa, Asim, Kanita for sharing of knowledge, not forgetting Jean-Marie for his leadership in organizing this webinar for benefits of not only the new chapter chair, but also the assisting one to manage and to get vibrant, having experienced the hardship to kickstart and manage a new EMB chapter himself once. Most of all, my sincere thanks to all of you, the attendees, for your attention. I hope today's webinar is useful. Thank you. And over to you, John.
Today, what we try to achieve is first to present the mission of EMBS and its chapter or chapters. Then Dr. Tagvid presented a quick chronological guide on how to lead a thriving chapter and all the different aspects that were needed. Then Asim presented different ways to create a diverse chapter. And then Kanita presented the different resources that were available to support administrative tasks and new forms of communication promotion for new chapters. And finally, Dr. Lee presented the different initiatives that were developed and promoted by EMBS Chapter Development Committee. So I do hope that this webinar was useful, and now I noticed that there were a few questions in the chat. So if the people are there, I invite you all to ask these questions. Feel free to speak up.
Yeah, I think I had a question for you, Kanita, specifically, because I think you mentioned about some of these events. So I think we've been very, very active as a chapter here, and then we actually hold like bi-weekly meetings as an XCOM. We also had some social events, end of the year events, but then we also have a monthly webinar, like with like an industry professional or an academic or some clinical doctors. So we've only been registering for the events for these webinars only every month. And then some of these like talks that we're having with like these professionals, but we never register for our XCOM meetings or any of the social events. Did you suggest that we should be registering for those as well? Or we are the reporting and registering those?
Oh yes, Dr. Safa, sorry.
Yeah, it is counted. If you have a meeting within 2 people, for organizing it, you put it there and it is counted at one of the meetings for XCOM.
Okay. All right, so because we already have all these like meeting minutes we sent to our IEEE Boston section. So I think I can maybe just backtrack and maybe fill out those events just to get credit for it. So I think, as I said, like we would have like plenty of events in that case, but just I didn't know that. So it's great to know that those should also be recorded and registered, or not registered, but at least like recorded, I guess, or
yes,
reported.
When
yeah.
you, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, one thing that I'm not sure if you ever noticed that we will have some of the funding rewarding back to your section every year. So actually 2 events per year is the minimum. But if you can make like 6 or 8 events per year, you will get more money. You will get more funding that go back to your EMBS chapter. So I would encourage you to report all of them though.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Kanita, is that just reporting, right? You don't register for XCOM meetings, it's just reporting them, correct?
Well, actually, we tools, you can just reporting, but they actually have a registration function that just in case if you want to use it, but if you don't want to use it, that's fine. You don't have to register via V2 system.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we've been just using the Zoom meetings that the IEEE Boston section is actually asking us to kind of use. So we've been doing that, but for our events, we do create the V tools. So we like register for our events, meaning the webinars and these like the talks that we're having. So we do register them and then report them. But for the XCOM meetings and some of the social events we had, so we didn't know we need to do that too. So now that you told us, so we'll be definitely in the future we'll keep all that recorded as well.
Yeah, you can just check register outside the system. I think they'll have an option for that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Asim, let me just add here. Kanita, first thing is, if you do the 2 meetings, you get $200 from IEEE. If you do 6 meetings, you get $75 extra. Now, you can add every meeting that you have, including the XCOM meeting of your chapter only. Okay. If you go and attend the section meeting, then that's not your section will get the credit.
Correct.
You have and so in some cases they take only the technical meetings as a number. In other cases, they just add. You can't, in a day you call other person 5 times and you just say, I've done 5 meetings. That is not really
understood. Sounds good. But no, Dr. So Zafar, I think we are actually having XCOM meetings every 2 weeks. So bi-weekly. So we have like a XCOM meeting, which is attended by all the officers. and some, and then as I said, like we have our events on a monthly basis. Every month we have a webinar or a technical talk, and then we had a couple of social events as well. So I think we'll definitely make sure we do report them in the future.
I see. One of the purpose of having a EMB chapter is so that we can communicate, and form a strong network. And any of the event organized by your chapter, it's counted, and you should report them to the V2 because those are the evidence that we are going to use to determine the chapter award, as well as all these initiative applications and so on. It's very important. I mean, I bring my members in order to connect with them. I brought members to picnic, family day, and we go on to industrial visits, and all of those events are registered as an activity, an event of the chapter.
Okay. No, thank you for that information, Dr. Lee. It's just, I think we weren't educated on that front. So I think it's a miss on our end and maybe even the Boston section. So they did not inform us that this like XCOM meeting is also technically should be reported as an event. But again, it's great to know from you guys that it should be. So I think we'll definitely be aware moving forward.
Okay. Just a quick precision. So I believe the meetings need to be registered in order to then be reported. Am I correct? You cannot register a meeting after the date.
Yes, you can do that too.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You can have the meetings and not going through VTool. But again, VTool is the great things that will help. Number one, it is passive, but you can advertise wherever else in the social media. You can do that. Also, from VTool, you can get the list of the people who have registered, and you can see which country, which places they have come. And then you can use that list for other activities and contact them. And so that is something. And then once you have put everything on VTool, at the end of the meeting, you can just simply go down and then report. And then you are done with L31. So that is a great thing that you can do that. I've got a couple of comments, if it is okay. That one is, back in old days, we used to have compulsorily event flyer. We used to have IEEE and all that. Now with the VTool and also the e-notice, the flyer is there. And people simply do that. Something that you just presented, Youth, says that compulsorily you need to have the flyer. I think you might just consider that flyer is not there. What else can be there? So just suggestion. The two things that I also have for OU analytic. Anyone who accesses has to have the password and have to be registered. So officers need to make sure they are registered before they can access OU analytics to find out. Something on diversity that I wanted really, Asim, you did that. There are two types of diversity, which I call in-house and out-house. In-house means you need diversity in the programs to serve the different members, different type of members. So you need to have a diversity, and also diversity in the administration, number of people that you have in your executive committee. You need to have a diversity, and I think that is something very important. Out-house, when I call that one is you can coordinate with different industry. You can coordinate with different chapters. You can coordinate with different societies. See what type of activities they do. And in that case, if they are doing something which is related to EMBS, you might contact them and be a co-sponsor of those. Because now those opportunities are there in diversity. One more item. one more item just before I close on this one here. When I was working with the space station project, and I retired from there, diversity meant something really very, very important. Diversity. We normally, it is our tendency to find 4 or 5 people in my committee who agree with me, who are just like me, who will say yes to everything else. That is not diversity. We need a people with different opinions. They may have a different opinion than you. Then you will expand. And so, for example, if there is a problem with this cell, I want only the RF person? No. I want the computer person? No. I want only the mechanical person? No. If there is a problem with this, I need all those type of people so that they can tell me how we can improve and how we can really innovate the things. And so we used to have something called ART, Anomaly Resolution Team, where we had the different people with different interests, with diversified ideas. They bring it, and that's the way we make the thing innovate. And then we do that. I just wanted to make these comments based on my personal experience. I don't know, it may be of some value.
Aitas, thank you very much. Yeah. Are there any other questions or points that were mentioned in the chat? And if you want to say them out loud?
Yeah, I think one of the questions I think Dr. Lear asked me specifically was with regards to like academia, like how do you attract membership from industry? And then what made me see IEEE, that made me join. So I think I'll take the first question with industry. So I think just being in industry for all this while, like almost over 12 years now. So I definitely see there's a lot of, openness from industry standpoint to be a part of maybe technical groups, especially I would say for at least EMBS specifically in the Boston area, just because I think like Boston is one of the hubs like for innovation and in the area of especially like medical devices to medical technology and bioengineering and biomedicine. So I think this is a great place to be in. And people generally from the industry, like it's always like work, right? You just go in, do your work, get back. So there's like always like that missing link. How do you give back to like industry, like where you came from? Be it academia or industry or like younger engineers. So there's always that sense of like, how do you go about doing that? So technically or generally, there's like a lot of like these in programs from mentorship standpoint, you do that. Some companies who are smaller companies, they don't have that resources to be able to do that. So I think for our chapters at EMBS chapters specifically, I would say, I think there's like a lot of advantage and value in people or professionals in the industry to be able to kind of like be a part of that group, to be able to give back in a certain way. So, and again, this is my experience that I've been like most of the people that we have in our group have some kind of like a job, and not a lot of them are actually from academia. They're actually more from industry in the EMBS section, in the EMBS chapter, I would say. And just that is one of the reasons, because the industry here is so big, is so critical in the Boston section. So there's always like people wanting to give back. And then this is, I think, one end of the spectrum with the Boston area where the biomedical, bioengineering industry is very strong. But then I'll go back to my previous work with the Phoenix section, Phoenix chapter, where like there's not a lot of medical device industries. So I think there was definitely a lot of like learnings there. How do you really set up and reach out to industry from kind of like to have them being interested in the EMBS chapter specifically. So I think there's like a lot more work involved, but I think the overall fundamental still remain the same, that people are wanting to give back in some shape or form from people in the industry, I mean. So I think it's all it takes is just to kind of like make that call, make that initial contact, just ask somebody, hey, would you be interested in coming over? Would you be interested in volunteering? Would you be interested in mentoring or something like that? I think we've at least, I don't know if we've been lucky or it's like a general trend, but we've always found like really good receptivity to our questions. And it's always like people are interested in that. again, that's been our experience. And then for me personally, I would just say the same thing, that like I've been involved with IEEE back to my college days, but again, that was the whole point. Like, wow, what do you do besides work, right? How do you give back to your society from like what you do on a general basis? So like biomedical engineering, I see there's like a lot of cross collaboration. It's not just like electrical engineering. It's not just mechanical. It's not biology. It's not just chemistry. There's a whole lot of collaboration that goes in biomedical industry than a lot of other industries, which are very, very, very niche, very, very, very specific. So I feel like we've, as a part of the EMBS group, have like a lot of these interests from all over the place. And for me specifically as well, I think it may just to me, I want to be able to kind of like have those hooks in different kind of these niche areas. So we've had like people who have like strong EE backgrounds who wanted to learn about biomedical industry. There are people with strong mechanical backgrounds, or people from physics, like from chemistry, and then people from just biomedical engineers themselves. So I saw a lot of that, like that there was like these like interest in like how can we help out. So that was my motivation behind, hey, why don't we like set like a new chapter from IEEE standpoint. And it was good to know that there is something we could do in the Phoenix chapter. So we got a lot of good response, and in Boston area, as I said, like it was fairly easy here. So that, to answer short, again, I would say there's always like that interest level from the industry and even academia as well. So I think it's just you taking the right step, and I think people generally tend to kind of gravitate towards you.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. I think one just quick point, and I know we're going over time. I think for new chapters, one aspect that wasn't really discussed here, but can be helpful is also to lean on existing chapters from different societies. Sometimes, for example, in my case, there's another chapter in my region that's in photonics, and again, given the fact that EMBS is really open and multidisciplinary, it is very easy to find ways or collaborations for some technical talks in which you invite a company that has one foot in the biomedical engineering field, but also uses technology that involves photonics. And so you can rely on this existing and thriving chapter to start developing your connections and your network, and get ready to run. So I think that's also one way that can be used for new chapters to develop.
And just to add to that, Jean-Marie, just again, like great point. And then just to follow up and confirm your comment there. So I think most of the webinars that we've had, and the ones that we've actually gotten a lot of like leverage and a lot of pull towards, is the one we did the co-hosting ones. So I think we've had about like 6 or 7 webinars like on a monthly basis. And I think of them, like at least 6 of those out of 7, we actually had a co-host with a team up with a chapter. So we saw what the topic was about. Like it was something more like, because biomedical industry is always like, there's always that multidisciplinary part to it. So something with optics, we reach out to the optics group and ask them, hey, do you want to co-host? If there was something in more of like, I don't know, it's like some engineering works, like some other chapter, sensors or something like. So we did all these like cross collaboration.
Right. Yeah.
Asim, just to add that, that your webinar is really, really good, but shame that it is not being publicized. You should have posted all that, on the EMB Facebook and Twitter and all that. There is a form on the website where you can just, submit.
So Dr. Lee, like I've been trying to do that. So I think for the first few times, we actually did a lot of publicity, and we still are. So we actually do like a separate flyer. So one of our publicity chairs, like she's very good at what she does. So she creates a separate flyers. We have our LinkedIn page. We post it on there too. And then I've always been posting the events on the Slack channel for the EMBS. but I then tend to not get any response from that. I don't know if it's like something that people don't use that often, but if there's like a Facebook page or something, I can maybe look into that. Like, I don't personally use Facebook, but maybe somebody in my group may, so I can maybe ask them to kind of like post that same flyer on there too. But I think we've been doing pretty good from publicity standpoint here, and I think even from LinkedIn view standpoint, I think like almost for all of the events that we posted, and it is like all the members, each one of us has gotten these like 500 plus views on those.
What I meant is the EMB Facebook, you know, sometimes you can get quite a good response from that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kanita. I think we'll use that. So I think I was just using that EMBS Slack channel. Maybe this one might be a better form.
Definitely, it will.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a short comment on this one here. There's a passive publicity and there's active publicity. Social media and all that, you say, I've put it there and I've publicized it. That is very little when people have time to really see, people have time to search, and those have time to do that. That's the passive. But active, of course, you need to really send them the information. But the key part is the person who wants to attend, the person who wants to come, industry that wants to get involved, they will ask you, what is there for me? And that is the question that underline, what is there for me? And so what are we providing to the industry people so that they can come? You can have the company and then you find the topic and then their activity, you can invite them as a speaker and publicize and say XYZ company doesn't such. He is going to bring, if he is a higher up engineer, he is going to bring other people from his company. And so you can approach from that list you will have in the vTool, and then you can later on contact that your chief engineer gave this and our EMBS has this thing and this thing, join we can do. So passive and active, you need to know. And for every one of the activities, if you want to have it, you need to decide what you are providing to somebody to motivate them to come and attend and become part of you. So again, that depends on individual chapters, what you can offer. Okay.
I was muted again. Quick question for, I guess, all of you. So following COVID, in my case, we're still all pretty much virtual in a lot of our activities. Are you all still following this, or are you starting to get back to in-person?
I think for us, like work-wise for us, John Marie, we're still like hybrid, but I think we have been given an option to be all like work from home, which I am like every day. But for EMBS, actually, we are going to be having 2 in-person events in the month of June and July, like a social event. So we will be doing that. But for most of the meetings or EMBS meetings, it's all still virtual for us. But as I said, like in June, July, even though the cases are not trending great in the US at this time, but I think we'll still see. But we are planning to meet in person because most of us are vaccinated. So that's on our side.
Okay, that's good.
Hybrid,
Yeah.
or our events, yeah. Go hybrid, yeah.
Oh, hybrid, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. The same here. We start to get into hybrid, but from the last few months, we see more people on site than online.
Okay.
Last year, because there was a need and our survey, we normally do the survey, but even though we get 7-8%. But we did 4 webinars related to COVID, implications of the COVID, what it is, how it is, and even one presentation on how do the presentations during the COVID. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, we did quite a few, and I think these webinars have really helped us a lot of it without spending much money. And so that was really good. And that became very actively, I approached people on that one.
Okay. Okay.
We need to see what is needed for the time and what is needed by the membership somehow, along with what is the objectives and mission of the society, merge them. Sometimes section and region also wants to provide their needed. Sometimes the section Congress we didn't have, but section Congress provides that input, so they need to be integrated, and depending on what is needed socially by the members of that region or a chapter, you need to do that. And I think that will be much more effective. Again, this is what we have found.
And also on government order.
Very true. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I think we are way over time, so we can. Some of us do need to sleep. Thank you all very much. So I do hope that this webinar, when it's posted, is useful to the community, and so thank you all for participating, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, all of you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye.
John. This was great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think some people need to go and sleep.
Bye. Have a safe trip in
I
Vienna.
have to go for my lunch, but everybody else has to go for sleep. All right. Thanks a lot.
Good night, all.
Bye.